Have you ever noticed that? How some countries have an embassy in a foreign capital, but others have something called a high commission? Or maybe you've seen a representative office. They all kind of look the same, right? But those names, they pack a huge political punch. Okay, let's get into it. So, what is the deal here? Why have all these different titles for what seems like the exact same job? Well, as we're about to see, in the world of international relations, the sign on the front of that building, it's one of the biggest power moves a country can make. And that's because, in this game, the number one rule is simple. Diplomatic naming is never an accident. It is always, always a deliberate choice with a very specific goal in mind. Think of each of these titles, embassy, high commission, office, as a kind of political status update. It's how one state talks to another, and it broadcasts a really clear message about whether they recognize each other, what their relationship is like, and where they stand legally on the world stage. All right, so let's kick things off with the one you've definitely heard of, the embassy. This is pretty much the gold standard for diplomatic missions. An embassy, simply put, is the top tier. It's a country's way of saying, we see you, you're a legit, independent country, we're a legit, independent country, let's do business on the highest level. And that top-tier relationship comes with a few key things. First up, it's led by an ambassador, who is the highest-ranking diplomat. Second, it means there's complete mutual recognition between the two states. And third, and this is a big one, everything it does is governed by the Vienna Convention, which is basically the international rulebook for diplomacy. Okay, so if an embassy is the standard, what about the exceptions? This is where international relations starts to get really, really interesting. Right. So most of the time, for most countries, an embassy is the default setting. It's the standard way you represent yourself abroad. So what are the exceptions to that rule? And maybe more importantly, why do they even exist in the first place? Okay, the first big exception is the High Commission. Now this one's special. While an embassy can be between any two countries, a High Commission is only for members of the Commonwealth of Nations. It's a nod to their shared history, framing their relationship not as foreign, but as a unique historical tie between governments. Now here's the crucial point. While the name is different, the job is identical. A High Commission does everything an embassy does, and it's led by a High Commissioner instead of an ambassador. The distinction is purely symbolic. It's all about acknowledging that special historical connection. The other big exception you'll see is the mission, or representative office. This is what countries use when things are, well, complicated. It's what you pull out when full diplomatic recognition is missing or just too politically messy. It's the ultimate diplomatic workaround. So, these offices handle the practical day-to-day stuff, like visas and trade, and they keep the lines of communication open. A perfect real-world example is Taiwan. They have Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative offices all over the world. They function just like embassies, but that name very carefully avoids any formal claim of statehood. It allows everyone to get business done without making a huge political commitment. And this really gets us to the heart of it all, the politics behind these names. I mean, why would a country intentionally choose a name like office when embassy is on the table? The answer is pretty simple, because naming isn't just paperwork. It's a fundamental tool of statecraft. It's a way to push your foreign policy goals forward without ever having to fire a shot. When a country is deciding what to call its building, it's playing a high-stakes chess game. Leaders are asking, do we want to signal full recognition, or do we want to deliberately hold it back? How do we keep our options open? It's all a careful balancing act to avoid creating legal problems for yourself down the line. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract political game. These choices, these simple words on a sign, they have very real, very tangible consequences out in the world. Yeah, that name on the building is definitely not just for show. It has a direct impact on everything from the legal rights of diplomats to the actual flow of goods and services between two places. For starters, it shapes diplomatic privileges. The full package of protections and immunities under that Vienna Convention we talked about, that's typically reserved for the staff at an embassy or a high commission, not necessarily for everyone working at a representative office. And then there's the money. Big international deals for aviation and trade are almost always signed between recognized states. So if you don't have that embassy-level recognition, it can be a huge hurdle to getting those economic agreements finalized. And it gets even more detailed than that. It can determine the actual words used in official treaties. The legal language of an agreement can be shaped entirely by whether the two parties formally recognize each other as states, and that has massive legal ripple effects. So the bottom line is this. These words shape access. Access to legal protections, access to economic deals, and access to the international community as a whole. The name on the door can literally open or slam shut doors on the world stage. Which leaves us with this final thought. In the world of diplomacy, names don't just describe reality, they actively work to define it. So the next time you walk past a diplomatic building, take a closer look at the sign. You're not just reading a title, you're reading an entire political statement.